Terrifier 3 is terrifying.
Why did two people faint right in front of me during that film?
Terrifier 3 is making fans throw up and walk out of the theater within the first 10 minutes.
People are reportedly getting sick at the sight of it.
11 total people walked out of the movies before the first 10 minutes was over.
Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Don't eat SpaghettiOs before you watch.
I had the pleasure of seeing Terrifier 3 on opening night here in Western Australia. Set with a good friend, a high heart rate, and a weak stomach, I was ready to fill my head with some gory, scary Christmas horror. And man, I was not let down. I started the Terrifier series scared to death of the first movie, then the second one came out, and for some reason I thought I'd give that one a go, and I just fell in love with this franchise. I've been so excited for the third installment after a fantastic sequel, on top of some extremely gory and gruesome kills. These films have good direction, a beautiful style, such strong performances, and a heartfelt core, and number 3 is no different. Everything the first two movies, especially the second, does well is brought over here and further built upon. So let's break down what I thought of Terrifier 3. When going into a movie like this, you shouldn't really expect the greatest writing or the greatest storytelling because it's a slasher that's known for its over-the-top gore. Yet somehow, Damien Leone continues to bring such an enjoyable story behind all of the gruesome kills. Following Terrifier 2 and taking place on Christmas 5 years later, the story follows Sienna Shaw as she attempts to rebuild her life while Art the Clown is in pursuit of her alongside his accomplice Victoria Hayes. The story of this one really nicely continues what had been laid down already while taking the franchise to new heights. The first film was very grounded, the second film continued to feel grounded but also kind of introduced more of a supernatural aspect, and this one takes the best of the grounded aspect while further developing the supernatural side of things. Any issues people had with the second one about the story being too bland will definitely be eating their words with this one because for a slasher, this is such a strong and compelling story. The universe this trilogy has developed so far is just so rich. It's more than just a manic clown mime chasing down a young woman. It's turned into a whole legacy, a bloodline, good versus pure evil. They're framing this in a way that shows Art as pure evil, the devil, and Sienna as pure good, an angel of sorts. We've seen this through multiple examples of religious imagery in 2 and 3, be it through Sienna wearing angel wings in the second film, and then in 3 she ends up wearing the crown of thorns. We even see a character unfortunately being hung up on a wall, crucifixion style. The idea that Sienna's father knew about this happening is further developed in this one as well. We saw through flashbacks him creating the idea of the heroine Sienna would become, and we see more of why Sienna is inspired by these drawings so much. We also know that he had some sort of knowledge of Art the Clown, and he was basically preparing Sienna for this whole event. He knew about the devil and what he was capable of, so he needed to set up a savior. We also get further backing up of this after seeing that Sienna has this regenerative power now. Her hands get absolutely mutilated, but we see them heal. This is why she can take so much pain and still move forward and heal the same way Art does, because Art and Sienna balance each other out. Pure evil and pure good. The devil versus the final girl. On the topic of characters, this film reunites our 3 main characters of the last film, Lauren Lavera as Sienna Shaw, Elliot Fulham as Jonathan Shaw, and of course David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown, while also giving Samantha Scafidi as Victoria Hayes, the sole survivor of the first film, a much larger role. We're also greeted to a bunch of new characters, Jonathan's roommate and his girlfriend, the aunt and uncle, and Sienna and Jonathan's cousin Gabby. The side characters in this film are all great and all play their part nicely into the story. Jonathan has matured a lot more since 2 and is dealing with things very differently to Sienna. And speaking of Sienna, the character of Sienna Shaw is further developed here so nicely and explores her feelings of trauma and survivor's guilt. I've said this since the second movie, but Sienna is the final girl for all I care. Her character and her relationship to the main villain is just so interesting and so well built upon, and Lauren Lavera portrays her so convincingly, making her one of the best scream queens ever brought to the screen. She's up there with Sydney for all I care. It was nice seeing Samantha Scafidi as Victoria Hayes in a bigger role here too. She's a nice accomplice to Art, and it felt refreshing having a more talkative counterpart to express themselves in ways Art doesn't. But speaking of the big bad, Art the Clown, this film really pushes the character up to a Jason and Freddy status in my opinion. Something about him is just so terrifying, but the way David Howard Thornton plays him, just with so much life and vibrance, is stunning. Like Art's reaction to people saying things, or even him just getting so giddy over seeing Santa, is what really makes this character who he is. David was a mime before he got the role of Art anyway, and him using that and putting that into practice playing Art the Clown, that's what makes Art so lovable. I wouldn't say lovable, he's definitely far from lovable, but that's what makes Art so special. Like, that's why I think he's up there with Chucky, Freddy, and Jason now. The Terrifier films have this distinct visual style. Leone chose to shoot this film using Panavision anamorphic lenses with the intention of making this film look like a vintage John Carpenter movie, and it really helps this movie just look so stunning. On top of how it looks, the shots are just all great too. There are some great close-ups of Sienna, some great lighting on Art to make him look terrifying, and some beautiful sound design that really sells the horror. The idea of setting this at Christmas was also just such a refreshing choice because Christmas horror is such an untouched gem that people don't ever seem to do right, but this one just really nails the Christmas theme. Something about the homely vintage Christmas aesthetic just so nicely juxtaposes with the horrifying overall tone. I could ramble on for hours and hours about how no slasher film has ever looked and sounded as good as this one does. Now for the part Terrifier is known for, the horror. This film is not for the faint of heart. If you thought the bedroom scene in 2 was bad, there are definitely a few scenes here that outshine it. Specifically the shower scene and the rat scene. If you know, you know. Outside of the blood and gore, they just really lean more into the horror this time around. I mentioned it before, but Art is often lit with such sinister lighting, the same with Victoria. Leone really showed that these two films are more than just blood and gore and disgusting kills. You'll be creeped out, you'll jump, and you'll be terrified. Somehow they go above and beyond the first two in terms of kills. Obviously I won't spoil anything, but I briefly mentioned there being a shower scene and a rat scene. They are definitely the worst in the franchise so far. The way they've managed to pull off what they have with very minimal use of special effects, the majority of these 3 films are done practically. It's something all horror movies need to strive to because it's the most realistic looking horror movie I think I've ever seen. Also, as a warning, they're really not scared to kill children in this one. I didn't think that was allowed, just in general. Many children die in gruesome ways, and that's something I've never seen a horror movie do before. You don't see it happen, if you know what I mean. You see the leading up to and the aftermath. You often also hear like the sounds in the middle. Interesting choice, very brave, I'll give them that. With the success of the trilogy, 4 is already in the works. Hell, I think it was in the works after 2, but regardless, there's talks of it being a 4th and final film in the franchise, and this film perfectly sets that up. The way this film ends gives our 2 counterparts such strong motive to take each other down once and for all. One final showdown between Sienna and Art. And if the quality continues from the first 3 films, then we are in for yet another treat. I don't know how the kills could get any more creative in a 4th installment, but I know Damien Leone and the crew can definitely pull it off yet again. I love the Terrifier franchise, and I loved Terrifier 3. It is my favorite in the franchise now. I didn't think that was possible after seeing 2, but this one is my favorite in the franchise, and I give it 4.5 stars out of 5, which is high for a slasher, but it truly deserves it. It was just such an unforgettable experience and such a well-crafted Christmas nightmare. Please, please, please go and support this film while you can. As far as I know, it's only having a 4-day cinema run here in Western Australia, Thursday to Sunday. I do intend on getting this video up before Sunday, so please go and see it when you get the chance. And just in general, please go and support low budget cinema where you can, because it really can be the home of some of the best movies that just fly under the radar because of their low budget, like this one for example. Let me know what you think of Terrifier 3. Let me know how many people walked out of your cinema, because I had 5 walkouts. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. I love this movie so much. It is such a blast. Please go and see it. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Happy Halloween, and bye for now.